The power of persuasion. So a big thing that we often educate our builders on is, because when we raise the topic persuasion, it can be caught up with this bad connotation of, I'm manipulating. I'm trying to persuade someone, or I'm trying to manipulate them to do what I want. Yeah, there are those that are going to use it for bad. And a book that I wanted to sort of go through some key points it raises, which we've talked a lot about on this podcast, is the book called Influence by Dr. Robert Cialdini. And funny enough, in the beginning of the book and the end of the book, he makes clear warning that these are very powerful factors. And if you use them ethically.
Yeah, use them for good. That's awesome.
We're coming back to that persuasion, and we help our builders understand this, where they almost feel obligated to, man, I need to persuade this person in front of me. Because if you truly believe that what you do is amazing, and you can really, let's say someone's in front of you and you think, man, I know I'm the best builder. I know I can deliver an amazing outcome for this client. And we would go on an awesome journey together, and they would love it. And if they were to go elsewhere, you can't guarantee that. They might have a really bad experience, and then the industry gets painted with a bad brush again. It is your obligation and duty to do all you can to persuade that person in front of you to go with you.
Why?
For the outcome of the client, because you want for them to have the best outcome. That would be, I would say, the right way to look at persuading it, and why it's important to then work on the ability to persuade through marketing, through sales, through communication, everything. So yeah, I want to raise 6 points they bring up in the book. So one is reciprocity. So that is really people feeling obligated to return favors when kindness, or they've received kindness from that person or from someone. Number two is commitment and consistency. So once individuals commit to something, they then strive to remain consistent with that which they committed to, which is a very, very important factor once you understand how that works. Then there's number three, which is social proof. So that's a big one. A lot of people understand that one, but that's essentially people tend to follow the actions of others, and more so if they are authority, or if they're like that person.
Yeah.
Then there's liking. So people are more inclined to agree and comply with the requests of individuals that they know, like, or find similar to themselves. And then 6 is scarcity. So items or opportunities become more desirable when they are perceived to be limited or scarce.
So sharing all those, they're all like so good, and like you can spend a whole podcast on each one. But what are you trying to, like, how would we relate this to the builders?
That's a great question, because we talk about this stuff all the time. So maybe a lot of that stuff is jargon. And I know in a previous podcast, you and I talked about that whole concept of using jargon, and it goes over people's heads, or they, just not communicating clearly on a way that the receiver is going to understand it, because that causes delays and all sorts of things. So good question. Well, I'll use an example and see if I can relate it back. One example that they raise in the book, but I'm going to change it so that it's relatable to the guys listening to this, would be, imagine you go to an MBA or a HIA info evening, and you're there with a lot of guys just like you, and you talk about the challenges that are going on. You share some of the wins, and other guys that are winning like you, and it's just really good camaraderie. You share a meal together, and then you all leave that evening and you drive out that night, and you all sort of go a similar way, and then you drive along the road. The guy in front of you was there at the event with you, and you're driving in your utes, and then on the side of the road you notice up ahead another ute, trade canopy on it, bonnet's up, and the guy's sort of working on the bonnet, and the guy in front of you that you were at the event with pulls over. I would say most of the guys listening to this and the guys we work with, they would pull over. That would be the right thing to do. The guy in front of you is helping.
He's a builder. He's pulled over.
The guy on the side here, looks like a tradie or possibly a builder like ourselves. I'll pull over and see if I can help as well. That seems very natural. You wouldn't really think twice about it. Compare that to you go to the same event, have that same experience with those guys. It's great. And then when you pull out, you go the other way. So they all go left, you go right. And you don't, none of those guys are with you. And then you're driving along, and let's say all of a sudden you're behind a old sedan, and driving on the road, and then all of a sudden up ahead you see a car on the side of the road, similar, bonnet up, but let's say it's an old
Sedan,
Nissan, Holden, whatever, and the car in front, way ahead of you, let's say, pulls over. I'd be interested if I could get into the heads of our listeners right now. What goes through your head?
Why has that person, so that person's pulled over now?
So
will you do the same?
Would you do the same? But the person in front of you that pulled over, you don't know from a bar of soap. They're not driving the same car as you. They're not. There's no relation to them. The person in front of you, though, has more relation to the person on the side of the road. Similar kind of cars, same
type of person,
potentially. Yeah. And so what the book talks about is that narrative that plays in our head, because we've seen that play out, and so quickly we can go, oh, that's those people. I'm not like them, and so I'll move on. You compare that to the previous one where it's like, no, I related to so much of that situation. Of course, it seems very natural. And when the book explains it probably does a lot better job than I can. But the reason I wanted to raise that as an example is it just shows where there's that familiarity or similarity, let's say with the guy in front of you or the guy on the side of the road, you're more likely to engage with that to help. Let's say I remove you from that situation completely and I just say to you, Andre, if someone was in help on the side of the road or someone was lying on the floor and they needed help, would you help them?
Yeah.
Of course. So that's the natural tendency. But once we are in society, it plays out very differently. And so relating that now to our builders, that story, that's the big point of the discussion.
What does that mean for our builders and how can they use it?
When you are, let's say, marketing, are you marketing in a way that makes it, you talked about, System one.
System
it's
two.
A very easy decision. So are you marketing in a way that someone goes, I can see myself doing that. That's where I should be. I relate to that builder. I relate to the clients and the projects that he's worked with. This is the right place to be. It's a very easy decision, as opposed to when you are marketing and let's say it's like stock footage and it's like, that family doesn't even look like a family in that photo,
It look like an American family and we're in Australia and it's completely different.
That's a very common one we see with guys that create a website, and they use stock imagery from, construction sites. And it's like, that's clearly Europe or America. So there's no relation. Or you talk about you read a website and there's no mention of the name of the person or the people. It just says company ABC, we love XYZ. These are our values. And I was like, there's no relating, so I'm just going to walk right past. I'm not going to associate with, or I don't resonate with any of this compared to someone where I land there and I go, I'm in the right place. I should be here. I really hope that
makes
an
sense.
analogy.
What I'm hearing there is it's like if you know who you're building for, you want to make sure the audience that you want to attract. You got to make sure your marketing, so website, stories, videos, everything, your banners, everything, when they land on that, they've got to go and be so familiar and so comfortable almost and go, wow, like, this is me. This is my personality. These are my values. This builder is like the one, or this is like, I can't go anywhere else.
Yeah. And so often when we look at the referrals, guys love referrals, they work. Yeah, because the person who communicated likely... there's a chance they just said, go talk to Bill. But there's also a chance that they said, well, we had this experience with him and we loved this and he's good at this. And you instantly, you're likely asking that person who they used because you resonate with them and you see yourself as similar to them. So that's why referrals kind of do half the job for you when it comes to making the builder relatable. Because the person's already decided, I'm asking this person for advice because I see them as a similar situation to me. Similar to me, therefore what works for them should likely work for me. That's the assumption that person is making. So does your marketing do that? It's easy for them to assume, well, the person there that I'm seeing worked with you, that project, well, that's similar to me. So I think what worked there will work for me. That's what your marketing should be creating.
So how do you do that though? Like, how do you...
I would say go back to, are you clear on your ideal client? Are you absolutely clear on that? Because too often, and this is just, I guess it's become the norm in industry. Let's say a builder goes to their trade, they get their license, they start out, they have no work, maybe. So they're going to take on anything. And due to that scarcity mindset, because they don't have an abundance of a pipeline there with ideal perfect work, they go, I can do anything. I can hang a door, I can build you a fence, I can build you a deck, I can extend here, renovate that, I can build a new house, I can do it all. And so that scarcity mindset then goes into their marketing. Their ute says we do decks, pergolas, new homes, extensions, bathrooms, renovations, driveways, I've seen. And so there's a huge disconnect there with that. So one would be understanding, choosing, and then understanding who that target market is and what are their goals and their desires. I know we talk about that a lot. Another one would be, look at creating your marketing for that audience and keeping in mind those 6 points that I raised. If you want to be reminded of those, let's go back and listen to the podcast again. Otherwise, get the book. Highly recommend that if you listen to this and any of it has resonated or you want more clarity, well, that feedback would be good for me. So I know I'm communicating it well, but the book is gold. So using those 6 points, having those 6 points in your mind when you're communicating.
And what would you say is the strongest one out of those 6 points right at this moment? Or just the one that you feel like a builder can take away and start implementing that today in their business?
There'd be two. It'd be social proof and liking.
Okay.
So social proof going, here's other cases where it's worked well, and then the liking is making sure that, okay, I'm using other cases, but do these cases relate to the person I'm talking to? So if this person's coming to me for a bathroom renovation, am I showing them case studies that here's a successful deck that I built? Those aren't relatable. It's a great example of a successful story, yes, but do you have something that can relate better? Would probably be, and then like we always talk about, use story.
Yeah.
The easiest way to communicate that is story. Tell a story, and you can, if you think about a story, you can go into incredible depth. That's why you have long, thick novels, or you pick the points of the story that are going to make it relatable.
Yes.
You're not going to pick features of that story that the person, it'll just go over their head. You'll pick features that okay, I'll spend more time describing that aspect of the story or at that stage, because that's what I see the person in front of me struggling with right now, or they need this bit of information out of that story.
Yep. Okay, so if you quickly give us an example, you just use the building like a deck or building like a bathroom. Let's say bathroom renovator. We'll go to that level. What's a quick way that you can, if someone's coming to you to do a bathroom, how can you quickly relay a story to them that will make them go, wow, yeah, like this relates to me. I'm the right type of...
Yeah, probably ask them say, awesome, I love your ideas and all that sort of stuff. What are your biggest concerns about this? So understanding the concerns, so you're going to be talking to those and key. Overcoming those.
Yeah.
And they might say, oh, well, it's time. Is it going to be a timely exercise? Are we going to complete this on time? Is the budget going to blow out? I don't really know what to choose or make selections. Awesome.
So that's great. So what I'm hearing there is you asked what's like important to them, or what's the biggest problems, things sitting in front of them.
Yeah. So this is when someone's in front of you.
Yes.
Then you can understand exactly what their concerns and problems are. And
then what do you do with those problems then? Let's say you have 3 problems.
Then I would tell a story that's going to help overcome those problems.
Perfect.
So if it's timely, we had, Jack and Sally, we did a bathroom for just the other month. Funny enough, they were about to have their first kid.
Yeah.
And so it was really timely and really important that we delivered on time. And so we worked well to follow their procedure, or follow our procedure, which we have a nice, clearly laid out framework. And by following that, and we were able to walk them through that, by following that and getting things in place in the right time, we were able to actually meet that deadline and actually deliver it ahead of deadline.
And then how did that make them feel?
And that, and so then they were just so ecstatic and just loved it. And we actually helped them move in and had, weren't able to have a big barbecue, but maybe just some cups of tea because, baby was due over the next 2 days. That'd be one story to help overcome the delays. That would also overcome the selections part as well, because I said there was a framework there that they followed to help them make easier decisions. What was the other one? Budget blowouts. Yeah. So you could also use that same story to go, well, because they followed that framework, we were able to make the right selections that were within their budget, decide on them, lock in those prices, and so there wasn't any big budget blowouts at the end. and they got what they wanted on time and to budget.
That's great. So like what I hear there, James, is like when you're in front of them, they come to you with this dream goal. Ask them what's important to them, or what's the biggest things, the problems they're sitting with, things that's like holding them back in their mind. And then utilize a previous client you've helped, or a story or an analogy to overcome these problems. And what feeling does that create when they hear that story and it overcomes all those problems for them?
It's going to give that prospective client confidence, and confidence is key for them to be able to go ahead. If I'm not confident and I'm not sure or certain, I have low certainty, I'm not going to go ahead. But if, like we talked about system 1, if I have confidence that, and this is easy, it makes absolute sense. Yeah, let's do it. You know, imagine if you could make any and every stage of the process working with a prospective client or client, if at every stage they had to make a decision, it was just that easy. Like, that makes total sense. Let's do it. Imagine that. Imagine how easy that would be for you and the client and for everyone involved.
It'd be a lot more seamless.
And a lot more seamless.
A lot more fun. And
so yeah, in terms of going over those points again, it would be understanding your ideal client, and then creating marketing with respect to those 6 points. But if you ask me what would be the main ones to take away, I would say it would be social proof and liking, and then using story.
Perfect.
To overcome.
Fantastic, James. That's a really powerful one. And yeah, I absolutely like that book. Is so fundamental with running a business and being able to deliver an awesome product for your clients and making that impact on their lives and your team's lives. Thanks, JP.
Thanks so much. Thanks
Cheers,
for the
man.
questions. Thanks for asking.
Yeah.